It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning show that covers fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation here in the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Loophole Optics, America's optical authority, by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors,
by Wallowa County.
Nature is on display in Northeast Oregon, and by The Real News, your fishing resource. Also by Shiloh Inns and Suites, providing you with affordable excellence. And by Mardon Resort, the place for fishing, hunting, and more in Eastern Washington. And now, it's time to head outside with your host, John Cruz.
Christmas is here. Did it sneak up on you? It usually does sneak up on me, though this year I did a little better than usual as far as buying presents goes at any rate. I was a bit lacking, though, in time afield, and that is a shame because personally, I always find time spent on the trail, in the marsh, or on the water around Christmas to be a contemplative time, frankly, just full of joy. Speaking of joy, we've got a special show for you this weekend that really ought to put you in the Christmas spirit and maybe in the mood for some fishing too. I say that because we've got fishing reports from all 4 Northwestern states this weekend, and we'll also get to talk to outdoors writer and TV personality Gary Lewis about his brand new book that is about to come off the presses, Fishing Mount Hood Country. Lance Mers is back to introduce another brand new lure from Max Lure Company. This one is called the Smile Blade Spin Drift Trout Rig, and it looks like it's going to be downright deadly for anglers trolling for rainbows and Mackinaw trout here in the Northwest and just about anywhere else you can catch a trout. From there, we're going to head to the shadow of the Eagle Cap Wilderness in Northeast Oregon. That's where Ken Corson has a very special camp and nonprofit organization called Creating Memories for Disabled Children. Ken takes kids, and adults too, with disabilities out on fishing, hunting, and outdoor trips they'll never forget in a gorgeous setting. You can't have Christmas without Christ, and with that in mind, we are inviting Pastor Tom Rackow on the show. He's going to tell you about a great book you can take to the field or read at home called Devotionals for Deer Hunters. Not only that, but Tom has even given us a couple of these great books to give away this week on the show. Finally, we've got some places to visit this week, sure to light you up with holiday joy. They're all outdoors, and with one exception, they all involve lots and lots of Christmas lights. But before we get any further, David Sparks joins us for another edition of Sportsman Spotlight, the show brought to you every week by Shiloh Inn and Suites. They are the hotel chain that lives up to their motto of affordable excellence, and they're ready to take care of you during your holiday travels. This week, David talks about disposing of that deer or elk carcass after you've butchered it. How you go about it sends a message about us hunters to the public at large.
Carcass disposal, David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. Hey, hunters from the Common Sense Department. I've talked with fish and game officials throughout the Northwest, and many of them have concerns about carcass disposal. A lot of you hunters are now cutting and wrapping the deer, elk, and moose taken this hunting season. Congratulations for that. But after the work's done, there's a pile of bones, a hide, and maybe a head. Nearly all hunters will dispose of the unwanted portions properly. However, a very small number will not. It doesn't take many improperly dumped and highly visible carcasses to generate strong negative reactions, believe me. Unwanted big game carcasses that end up on the side of the road or in vacant lots become eyesores and roadway hazards. And from the Hunting and Fishing Public Relations Department to non-hunters, poor disposal practices lead to a bad impression of hunters. Once you guys have removed the edible meat, the unusable parts should be disposed of properly as a courtesy to others. Fish and Game spokesman, Steve Liebenthal.
We've been getting some calls from people who are rightfully upset that they are finding the remains of carcasses that are obviously from hunters being left in vacant lots and places like that where they shouldn't be. The best thing to do is to package it up in a way that it won't create odors around your house while you wait for garbage day and put it out with the rest of the trash.
Legal in all states. Remember our public image.
Confused by so many national brand hotel reward programs? Blackout dates, expiration dates, different points for different hotel rewards, and gimmicks? At Shiloh Inn Suites Hotels, it's simple. No blackout dates for any rewards stay. If we have a room available, it's yours. Hi, I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. As a rewards member, you'll receive free room upgrades, a dedicated personal agent to help book your stay, points that don't expire, points that can be used for free nights at any one of our beautiful hotels or donations to your local school or free airline tickets and much more. And as a special bonus, you'll earn 100 free bonus points just for signing up. From your very first stay, you receive free Wi-Fi, free breakfast at most locations. The kids stay free. We don't charge ridiculous resort or parking fees, and we're dog-friendly. Shiloh Inn's affordable excellence. American-owned and proud of it.
It's Sportsman Show season, and two great ones are coming your way in Washington this year, courtesy of Schuler Productions. The Tri-City Sportsman Show kicks off the season at the track in Pasco from January 16th through the 18th, and the always popular Central Washington Sportsman Show returns to the Yakima Sun Dome February 20th through the 22nd. Both shows are going to have lots of guides, outfitters, and other exhibitors to include sporting goods dealers that are going to offer some great deals. There's also fun for the kids who can catch fish and more. Throw-in seminars on fishing, hunting, and camp cooking, along with archery and air rifle ranges at the track for the kids, and a horn and antler competition at the Sun Dome, and you won't want to miss either show. It's the Tri-City Show, January 16th through the 18th, and the Central Washington Show, February 20th through the 22nd. We'll see you there. You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and we get to talk to one of our favorite guests again, Gary Lewis, prolific author out of Oregon State. He writes a whole bunch of really good books covering the hunting and fishing scene in the Beaver State, and Gary's got a brand new one out. Gary, congratulations. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, John. It's good to finally have this book done.
I'm sure it is. You've been working on it for a while. It's called Fishing Mount Hood Country. Tell our listeners all about it.
We actually thought we could get this done in a year, and it's taken 2 years. I've been working with Robert Campbell. He's the manager at the Fisherman's Marine Outdoor Store in Oregon City. And what we've been doing is we've been hiking into some remote lakes and then fishing some of our favorite rivers and creeks over again and taking a lot of pictures. And we've written this book, Fishing Mount Hood Country, that really opens up the access to some of these really good waters around Mount Hood.
So how big is this book, and how many different streams and lakes are we talking about that are covered here?
This is one of our large format books, 8.5 by 11 size almost, and then we're covering over 50 waters in this book. So we've got in here North Fork Reservoir, and we've got Trillium Lake, and those are the ones that you expect to hear about. Mm-hmm. But we're also covering Mirror Lake and Boulder Lake and the Twin Lakes and Kingsley Reservoir and Lawrence Lake and places that you have to hike into. We've purposely left some waters out that we think really shouldn't have very much attention.
Okay, that's fair.
And we try to really promote an ethic of, if you're going to go fish one of these little creeks, let the fish go and enjoy them, take their pictures. And what's been really fascinating is looking at the fish that come out of one lake versus the fish that come out of the lake next door. So we have lots of photos that show the rainbows from this lake contrasted with the rainbows from this lake and the cutthroats and the brook trout. And every lake produces a fish that looks just a little bit different. It's because of the habitat that they come out of and the biology of the lake and probably the pH levels and the food sources. It's been fascinating.
Oh,
that
sounds really interesting. So each one of these entries, so to speak, obviously is going to have a description of how to get there and what kind of fish are found in there. But what else? Are you talking about tactics and how to catch the fish, or hiking descriptions? I mean, what else is covered in each entry?
We do, and we're fishermen. We're fishermen more than hikers. So we really focus on the fishing aspects, and we tell you how to get there, and we let you work out the hiking and enjoy that to whatever degree. And then we're also covering the Deschutes River, the White River, the East Fork Hood River, the main stem hood, the Sandy, the Clackamas, the Oak Grove Fork, and a few others.
I like the fact that you're covering not just the immediate vicinity of Mount Hood, but like you said, Mount Hood country in general. I mean, the Deschutes River, the Sandy, the Clackamas, all great streams to fish, especially if you like to go after steelhead. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to talk about here, you've got Timothy Lake in there, and that one has got some really fond memories for me from when I was a kid. Tell our listeners a little bit about fishing Timothy Lake.
Okay, so Robert Campbell wrote the Timothy Lake chapter because he really is one of the foremost experts on that water. And so it's a great fishery high in the Clackamas watershed, and it's on the Oak Grove Fork of the Clackamas. Big reservoir that supports a lot of camping opportunities, and then there's all these little creeks that flow into it and arms of the lake. So it's kokanee, it's brook trout, it's rainbows, and it's cutthroat in a pretty big water, but you can fish it like a smaller water because of all its little arms.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I think I was about 7 years old, and I vividly remember casting little Mep spinners right into the culverts of some of these little streams and catching trout right out of the culverts. And I thought I was the most clever little kid in the world when I did that.
You were. Yeah, that is fun stuff. I remember being that age and trying to catch fish.
Well, that was one day where it all came together. What are a couple of the waters that you really enjoyed fishing when you put together this book?
Oh man, Harriet Lake, we just had a ball on Harriet Lake, and then Boulder Lake was really a surprise too. I hadn't even heard of it when I started in on this project, and when you look at the mountain, it has all these glaciers, and so we tried to really start the reader off at the top of the mountain as the snow is melting, and then you come down each one of these little canyons and you find all these different little waters that are unique. But Boulder was pretty special. It's an easy hike in, and even though it's pretty accessible on an easy hike, it has this pristine feel to it, and you can go in there and the brook trout are easy to catch. And I really suggest that people think about keeping a few brook trout to eat when you're in there, because I think they're stunted.
Right.
And if you keep a few more, then you'll probably have some bigger ones later.
Yep, I'm with you. When it comes to brookies, I've got a heart for them. They're beautiful fish. I love catching them, but they do tend to be a little prolific, and they will take over a water, and all of a sudden you have all sorts of very small brook trout. So I think that's a great idea. Folks, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Gary Lewis about his brand new book, Fishing Mount Hood Country. And I guess the next thing we need to talk about, well, you know, we've got a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and talk about maybe one of your favorite streams that you got to fish while you put together this book, too. Because I love fishing streams, whether it be with a fly rod or with a spinning rod for trout. I
commissioned an illustration for this book by Ty Kruger, and Ty manages the Confluence Fly Shop in Bend, Oregon, and so he drew me a Still Creek cutthroat.
Nice.
That was based on trout that we caught in Still Creek. And Still Creek, when I was young, was managed for hatchery fish, but about the time I turned 18, which is quite a while ago now, they quit stocking Still Creek and began to manage it for the wild cutthroat. And I remember back in those days, I only remember seeing one wild cutthroat come out of there, and it was an 11-incher. And today you go there, and that is mostly what you catch is wild cutthroat. They're not real big, but they are just gorgeous fish, and every now and then you'll catch a trophy, and that trophy will be 10 or 11 inches.
Nice, nice. Oh, sounds fantastic. We are now starting to run out of time, so I've got to ask, where can people get a copy of Fishing Mount Hood Country, which, by the way, folks, would make a great last-minute or belated Christmas gift?
Probably your best bet right now would be Fisherman's Marine in the Portland area, one of those 3 stores, or to contact me through my website, GaryLewisOutdoors.com.
All right, so there you go, folks. Fisherman's Marine, there's 3 stores in the Portland area, or just go to Gary's website, GaryLewisOutdoors.com. That's GaryLewisOutdoors.com for his brand new book, Fishing Mount Hood Country, literally hot off the press. Gary, wishing you a very Merry Christmas, and thanks for telling us about this great gift on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Merry Christmas to you. We'll see you out there.
Uh-oh. I've got some news for you. We actually recorded this interview with Gary a couple of days ago, and he got back to me to tell me that unfortunately, the books are not going to be out by Christmas unless there's some sort of Christmas miracle that we don't know about. So you're going to have to basically give somebody an IOU, and then, after the holidays, head down to Fisherman's Marine in the Portland area to pick up a copy of this book, or get a hold of Gary on his website at GaryLewisOutdoors.com. You can probably pre-order it if you want to contact him through his website, or just wait till it's posted and then get that book. You are going to love it, but it's going to be a belated Christmas gift this year.
That's the sound you hear when a fish hits the new Sonic bait fish from Max Lure Company. This metal lure can be cast, trolled, or jigged and will catch just about anything that swims in the sea, the river, or the lake. The Sonic bait fish has a unique vibration and flutter that can be rigged in 7 different ways. With all sorts of eye-catching colors and weights available, you'll be reaching for the Sonic bait fish as your go-to lure. It's the Sonic bait fish. And that's another fish on. Only from Max Lure Company.
Sonic booms not included with the Sonic Baitfish Strike unless you are fishing for jet fighters.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. Last week, we told you about a brand new walleye lure that Max Lure Company is coming out with. This week, we've got news about a brand new trout lure. Lance, tell our listeners about it.
John, again, we are super, super excited. And the reason why we're excited is because we have a new lure for trout, and it's called the Smile Blade Spindrift Trout. This hook that we have is made by VMC, and it's called the Spindrift Hook. And what it is an integrated, free-flowing swivel-to-hook system, which means that the swivel operates freely than the hook. So it gives it a lot of action in the water, a lot of spin at slow speeds, and entices it more bites. The hook is very, very sharp, and it's made of a heavier gauged wire, so it'll keep those big trout on.
I've truly never seen a hook like this, where the swivel is integrated with the hook. Plus, again, it's got that unique feature of this hook that allows it to go ahead and spin. It's not shaped like your normal J-hook, folks. This is a really different looking hook, but it is going to work. Go ahead and couple that with the high UV beads and the patented Smile Blade. And what else is there? Is that a little wedding ring?
It is. And, we're also known for our wedding ring spinners. So we wanted to keep it in the family and put that wedding ring on there to entice it. We know that the wedding ring works. I know that this works. I've fished it before.
There you go, folks. It's your new nuclear option for trout, whether you're fishing in the winter or in the spring or any other time of year. It's a Smile Blade Spindrift Trout. Look for them in sporting goods stores starting in January. And you can find out more about them right now at maxlure.com. And that wraps up another Max Minute, focusing on a brand new lure, the Smile Blade Spindrift Trout.
It's the holiday season, and what better way to celebrate than with a year-long subscription to The Real News, dedicated to the accurate coverage of fishing issues throughout the Northwest for over 25 years. The Real News is the perfect gift for the reading angler. Just log on to therealnews.com and go to the subscription page. As a special bonus, we'll throw in a vinyl Real News sticker if you mention Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Order now and make someone happy far beyond the holidays.
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX McKenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your McKenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Bi-Mart stores. BX McKenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
Psst. Yeah, you, the guide, outfitter, or outdoors business owner who's listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Have you ever thought of becoming a sponsor of our show? We've got local sponsor opportunities at all 50 of the stations that carry Northwestern Outdoors every week, and we've got some network opportunities too. If the outdoors is your business, we can help you with your advertising needs. Contact me, John Cruz, through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. That's northwesternoutdoors.com, helping you get the word out about your outdoors company. Next up on our Christmas edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're talking to Ken Corson. He is the founder of a really special nonprofit organization called Creating Memories for Disabled Children, located, well, near Wallowa Lake, near Joseph, Oregon. Ken, Merry Christmas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Ken, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Creating Memories for Disabled Children? What is this program all about?
Well, our program is to give children and other disabled people an opportunity to see the outdoors, experience it, hear the night sound, see things that they probably would never see unless somebody took the time and the effort to build special boats and campsites and blinds for photography. Anything along the line that will get them outside. Shriners Hospital tells me that the two main things that inhibits people with disabilities of getting out is accessibility and affordability, and we're trying to eliminate, to the best of our ability, everything that we can along those lines. There are a lot of little children out there that lived in big cities that have never seen the stars, never heard a coyote talk, and just really never experienced anything outside of a city environment. Most people that have disabled children build a little environment around their home, and then they just cannot get out beyond that because of the limitations that they have. So we're trying to do something about it.
I think it's great, and I can imagine few places better to get away and experience the outdoors than Wallowa County. Now let's talk about your base camp, because that's kind of a story in and of itself. I understand it's a former Boy Scout camp located just south of Wallowa Lake.
Right. It's 90 acres that the Boy Scouts have been using since 1937. It was donated to them by Pacific Power, and then due to the distance that they have to come and the cost of their camp, they've just more or less abandoned it for the last 10 or 12 years. So we've entered into a long-term agreement with them, allowing us to rebuild the cabins, bring them up to ADA standard, and all of the facilities that we have will be offered free of charge to the disabled, plus their families and their caregivers, just to come and enjoy a few days at Wallowa Lake or in some of the other ranches that we have. We can take them out and they can take photographs of baby elk and deer and be part of some of the ranches around here, participate in some of the fishing and that type of thing.
Well, speaking of participating in the fishing, Wallowa Lake, folks, is a great destination for trout and kokanee, and I understand you have a special boat outfitted just for these disabled children, and in some cases disabled adults as well.
Yeah, we have 5 of those boats. Some of the people that have helped us have seen what we do, so they've taken their boats, and we put it's about a $1,500 modification on a boat to put a wheelchair on it. We usually can put 2 to 3 wheelchairs, and then their caregivers with them. And last year we had one lady that was 98 years old.
Oh my gosh!
And she landed 4 rainbow. And then we had one lady that's 100 years old that we had at the lake, but a storm came up, so we have set it up for this summer, and I just talked with them yesterday, and she's ready to go. But she'll be 101 this year.
Fantastic. Again, folks, we're talking to Ken Corson. He's the founder of Creating Memories for Disabled Children, and as you can tell, he also takes out adults with disabilities, too, on some special trips. Now, we've talked a little bit about the fishing, about photography, about ranch life, and just kind of experiencing all that nature has to offer, but I understand you take some of these kids out on hunts, too, and I understand a very special girl named Ashley had a very
Yes.
successful deer hunt this fall.
Ashley had been hunting with us for 4 years. Ashley's a quadriplegic. She can't talk and has very little movements in her, has a little movement in her left hand, or left arm, and a little movement in her right, and she can move her head. And she wanted to harvest a mule deer buck. And so this is her 4th year, and she harvested a really a mature mule deer buck. She has to pull the trigger with a string that's attached to her hand, and then her dad, we have a special table for him, and her dad sights it in, and then he tells her to pull because she has very weak eyes. She can see. Anyway, she's very limited in what she can do. And we had one boy that has no arms or legs. He has little kind of flippers on his chest, and he harvested an elk this year. It was a cow elk. And we have another little young man that he has cerebral palsy, and he harvested his 3rd elk this year. The first time I took him out, which is about 5 years ago, he said about 3 or 4 words to me. I didn't know whether he could talk or not. Well, now he's a junior at the University of Oregon.
Wow.
He's on the dean's list. He's studying to be an English teacher. And that just kind of gives you an idea of the possibilities of when a child looks at the parent and say, I can do this. And that's what we're trying to do, is to let the disabled, especially the children, as they grow up, realize that they might have some limitations, but their limitations can be overcome with a lot of work and a lot of friends. My board is made up of pretty much disabled people.
Well, Ken, this is absolutely fantastic. And that last story in particular lets you know that there's miracles not just at Christmas, but all through the years. Now, I know some of our listeners have probably got disabled children or know disabled children or have adults that are disabled and want to get them out and maybe take advantage of this program. What's the process to get involved as an applicant?
We have a fellow that he lives in Estacada, and he was one of the fellows I took out a couple of years ago. We did not get an elk, but we had a lot of fun. And he doesn't have any arms or legs. He's the one that got the elk this year. And I called him, a year ago, and I said, hey, thank you for everything you've done, because he's a computer whiz and really good at it. He has an associate degree in graphic arts. And I was thanking him for just helping me. And he told me, he said, don't you ever thank me. You guys have given me a reason for living. And so if they would get to our website and then go straight, his name is Enoch Stalip, and he'd be more than glad to talk with you. We are currently setting up a program, a hunting trip for a boy from Alabama.
Wow.
And the community that he lives in is raising the funds to get him to come out and hunt with us this fall. So we're pretty excited about that. Enoch's doing all of that. So Enoch is our key man, and he understands the frustrations, and he understands all of the things that the disabled kids go through.
We are running out of time, Ken. I hate to cut you off, but we are just running out of time. And I want folks to go to your website, not just to find out more about the program, but to donate, because, folks, organizations, nonprofits like this, they need funds to keep running and doing the great things you've been hearing about. So
we will love any type of donation we could get, but we would never turn any kid away that wanted to take a picture of a deer or elk or catch a fish or just take a cruise around and see the country. We would never turn a family away, but any contributions we could get would greatly be appreciated, because we usually have more people than we have resources, but the resources come in pretty good.
Oh, I understand. And folks, that website is creating-memories.com. Creating-memories.com. That's creating-memories.com. They're also on Facebook. Just type in Creating Memories for Disabled Children. You're going to find them in Joseph, Oregon. This, as you can tell, is a great organization doing some great things.
If they wanted to, give me a call, too. My phone number is listed somewhere, so just call me. I'd love to talk with them.
Fair enough, and that's right on the website. So, again, it's creating-memories.com. We have got to go, but Ken, thanks for all you do, and have a very Merry Christmas.
Thanks. Same to you. Thank you very much.
Are Are you ready for some real adventure? Then wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera, put on your snowshoes, and take a professionally guided hike into the quiet solitude and breathtakingly rugged beauty of the Eagle Cap Wilderness. Or sleep under the stars and test your mettle with some winter camping and ice fishing for kokanee and trout at Wallowa Lake. Or bring your snowmobile to Salt Creek Summit and explore Wallowa County on 150 miles of Northeast Oregon's best trails. Your outdoor winter adventure begins at www.wallowacountychambers.com.
Wetlands are some of the most important ecosystems on Earth, but our wetlands are quickly disappearing. Find out how you can help. Join Ducks Unlimited today.
You're back with our special Christmas week edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and this portion of the show is brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. We've got a fresh report from Mike Meesberg there, who says waterfowl hunting has been exciting but unpredictable. With daytime highs in the 40s or higher, the Pacific flyway waterfowl are not behaving as they normally would in mid-December. He predicts the birds will start acting more normal, with nighttime temperatures dropping to below freezing. Walleye fishing pressure has been light, but walleye are showing in the 19 to 21 inch category with more frequency than years past. Dock fishers are catching some perch and crappie with an occasional walleye thrown in. Head on out there and experience the hunting and fishing yourself at Mardon Resort. Go to mardonresort.com to find out more and consider booking a stay for your family or friends. Now that would be a great Christmas present. In other field reports, Jason Schultz with Hells Canyon Sport Fishing out of Lewiston reports fishing has picked up on both the Snake and Clearwater rivers from the recent rains that came through the area. With water levels dropping and clearing, the rivers become ideal for great steelhead fishing. Jason expects the end of December and the month of January to offer the best fishing of the season. If you want to join him on a trip, check out his website at hellscanyonsportfishing.com. West of the Snake River in northwest Washington, Three Rivers Marine in Woodinville let us know fishing has been fair on the main stem Skagit River, but it's been much better on the Cascade River, where the limit has now been increased to 3 steelies a day. Pressure has been light on the Cowlitz, but there have been some larger 3 saltfish caught there. They suggest side drifting the Blue Creek to Mission Drift. Anchoring with bait divers and coon striped shrimp is another viable option. Bank anglers have been focusing on fishing at Blue Creek and Barrier Dam. Meanwhile, out on the Olympic Peninsula, there are still some quality late-season coho being caught on the Hump Tulips and Satsup rivers. Earlier in the month, the Bogachil had some phenomenal fishing for steelhead from the hatchery to Wilson Drift, and once the rivers drop back into shape, there should be another great shot at some great fishing. Find out more about steelhead fishing in Western Washington and get hooked up by going to 3 riversmarine.com. Fishing on the Missouri River has been excellent up to the dam and down the river to Pelican. That's the word from the Headhunters Fly Shop in Craig, Montana, which recommends using white and tan or copper-colored streamers for big rainbows right now. Those streamers might also get you into a walleye or two as well. I know, walleye on the fly sounds really weird, but a black marabou leech pattern has done the trick for at least one angler below Holter and might work for you too. Finally, in Western Oregon, the Department of Fish and Wildlife wants to let you know winter steelheading is heating up and is only going to get better from here. Rivers worth fishing include the Lower Rogue, the main stem of the Umpqua, and rivers within the Coos and Coquille Basin. Steelhead are being caught now in these streams, but the big push for steelhead fishing is going to happen late December, throughout the month of January, and into February. Looks like it's going to be a good year. Next up on this Christmas edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're talking to Pastor Tom Rako. He has put together a book called Devotions for Deer Hunters. It's the Big Book, Volume 2. Tom, Merry Christmas and welcome to the show.
Well, great to be with you, John, and we are excited about the big book. Some out there may have not heard of the Christian Deer Hunters Association. We're a totally volunteer organization, been around 20 years, but we put out a little devotional each year, a pocket-sized devotional that we distribute free of charge, and then we actually have 2 big books. The first 10 years we compiled a big book, and then this is our second newest volume, pretty hot off the press, and is written by our members from around the country, and their experiences deer hunting, has a little suggested scripture reading, a story or experience that has a spiritual point to it, and then a little prayer, and it's been a great tool for ministry, especially those that love to deer hunt.
Well, I really have been enjoying this because, folks, it's just a great way to, well, screw on your head straight, for lack of a better word, and be right with God and with yourself. So, again, you just start off with the scripture reading, you read the story, you have a prayer, and it just kind of sets you, on the right path every day. Or, in the case of out here, bring it out to the deer stand and go ahead and read it while you're out there, because goodness knows there's usually plenty of time to do a little reading when you're deer hunting.
Absolutely, and if you're successful and you shoot that big buck, you can sit down and read while your buddies come to help drag them out, right?
Right. It always works that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is what I enjoy as I've edited them and reading the experiences that others have had, and you learn from it, because sometimes you'll get little tips as well, but it's like going on a hunt you haven't been on. And so it is neat. And then there's always a spiritual point to it as well.
Absolutely. Now, Tom, you're an ordained pastor, aren't you?
Yes, I've been a pastor for 27 years, and but I should tell you this, John, I was also a poacher.
Really?
Unfortunately, poached my first deer at age 11, and then it kind of went downhill from there, and I came to know the Lord at the age of 21 while watching a Billy Graham crusade on television, and one of the first areas that God began dealing with me was with my hunting. I couldn't poach anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm convinced God must have a sense of humor, because I would be the last person to pick to start a ministry called the Christian Deer Hunters Association.
Boy, you put it that way, you're absolutely right, but I'm with you on the one thing. God does have a sense of humor. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, and He gave us, a sense of humor, and where does that come from? So.
Well, there you go. And, let me ask you another question. I mean, since I got the opportunity to have a pastor on the air here, why is it, do you think, that so many of us, when we're out there, whether it's in the woods or in the mountains or in the marsh, why does it feel like you're basically going to church? Why do so many of us feel so close to God when we're having these wilderness and field experiences?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question and a great point, because I think that is across the board, and that we all experience that. In fact, the more time we spend in nature, the more we have an appreciation for it. And I think it comes down to this, that we are looking at God's handiwork. Now, according to the Bible, God is not creation, but it is, in a sense, His artistic work. And so we are seeing some of His great glory. What group of humans could build a cathedral as great as what God has built? And we get to experience, since we see the sight and the sound and the smells. And I think also, hunters have a relationship with nature that a lot of people that don't spend time hunting or fishing, a lot of people don't have that, because it's strange to them, it's foreign to them. And I think also when we look at creation, we see the design and beauty. We also see, disease and death and distortions, which is explained by the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But we really have God's art set right before us, and I think that's one of the reasons. And in the Bible, you have the Bible writers use nature to describe things. For example, the Christian Deer Hunters, our theme verse is Psalm 42:1. As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God. And so here he used what he had seen, especially I've been to Israel, and it can be very dry and hot, and I think of a deer with its tongue hanging out and thirsty, and he was describing what his desire was, for God was like. And you have a lot of that imagery throughout the Bible as well.
Well, there you go, folks. Pastor Tom Rako putting it all into perspective for you for Christmas. And again, folks, he has put together the Devotions for Deer Hunters, Big Book Volume 2. He's actually given us a couple of these to give away. If you want one of these, we're going to give away 2. Just contact us through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com and let us know you want the devotional. And we'll go ahead and pick 2 winners after the end of our last broadcast, and we'll get them your way. Can't promise we'll get them to you before Christmas, but we'll do our best to make that happen. Tom, we have to go, but before we do, where can people find a copy of this, Devotions for Deer Hunters, Big Book, Volume 2?
Well, thanks, John. And probably the easiest way would be to go to the association website. It's ChristianDeerHunters.org, ChristianDeerHunters.org, and they can do it through PayPal, or there'll be an address there that they could send if they want to send it by mail, and we'll try to get it out to them as quick as we can as well.
There you go, folks. ChristianDeerHunters.org. Check out the devotional there and an earlier devotional as well. It'd be a great gift, and for yourself or for somebody else, especially if they are a deer hunter. Pastor Tom, again, Merry Christmas, and thanks for joining us this week on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Merry Christmas, and thank you, John. Really appreciate it.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. The kind of optics that allow you to see what you need before making that stock or pulling that trigger. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
Looking for the ultimate cooking machine for your backyard or patio? Look no further than Camp Chef's new pellet grill and smoker. With user-friendly features like an auto ignition, digital readouts, and internal meat temperature sensors, it's easy to smoke the tastiest salmon, ribs, brisket, and turkey you'll ever eat. And an innovative system makes cleanup a snap. Everyone will want the food you're cooking on your Camp Chef pellet grill and smoker. The quality smoker that's second to none. Find out more at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
The off-season is a great season to visit Mardon Resort. Located in eastern Washington's Columbia Basin, you'll find incredible bird hunting, great wildlife watching opportunities, and fantastic fishing in a boat or right off the marina docks at Mardon Resort. Better still, off-season deals save you money when you bring your RV or stay in the hotel or wonderful park cottages. To find out more, log on to mardonresort.com. Mardon Resort, where the outdoor fun lasts all year long.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's your last chance to go ahead and enter to win if you want a copy of that Devotions for Deer Hunters that we're giving away this week. That's right, we've got 2 of them to give away, and they'd be the perfect Christmas gift for the deer hunter in your life. I don't think we're going to be able to get them to you by Christmas, but you can certainly give them an IOU, and they're going to love that book, whether they take it out on the tree stand or in the field. You can go ahead and ask for one by going to our website, northwesternoutdoors.com. That's northwesternoutdoors.com. Just say you want the Deer Hunters Devotional. You can also do the same on our Facebook page. Let's run through some upcoming events before we go with a Christmas theme. Shore Acre State Park along the Central Oregon coast has 300,000 LED lights shining in all sorts of festive displays. It's open daily to include Christmas through December 31st from 4 to 9:30 p.m. I have it on good authority. It is just fantastic out there. Another place to see the lights this weekend from Friday the 19th through Sunday the 21st is Leavenworth, Washington for the final weekend of their annual Christmas Lighting Festival. The Bavarian-themed town is nestled within Washington's Cascade Mountains, and in addition to visits from Santa, Christmas carolers, and more during the day, at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday, the town will light up with 500,000 Christmas lights that's truly a sight to see. If you're in southwestern Idaho, you might want to visit Caldwell this week, which has a nightly lighting of 500,000 lights too, spread around downtown and along a quarter mile of Indian Creek. Christmas carolers will also be found here, along with train rides for the kids and visits from Mr. and Mrs. Claus, who really seem to get around at this time of year. And in case you're wondering what Santa does the day after he delivers all those Christmas presents on Christmas Eve, I happen to know the answer. He heads to Big Sky Resort south of Bozeman, Montana, and spends the day skiing. That's right, you can enjoy a torchlight parade at Big Sky on Christmas Eve and then spend the day hitting the slopes at the resort with the big guy in red. Find out more about this popular Montana destination at bigskyresort.com. That's all for this week. If you get a chance, check out our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Like us, follow us. We're always putting stuff there that doesn't necessarily make the show. If you didn't catch all of the show and you want to hear it, go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. We've got a link there that gets you to last week's show, and we've got links to find out more about our guests. Another place to hear us on the internet is at renoviolaoutdoors.com. We are one of 30 outdoors programs that play 7 days a week on this great internet outdoors radio channel. It's RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It is Christmas, and I have a wish for you. That wish is for you to have a very merry, a very happy, a very joyful Christmas. If you get a chance, head to your local church. Check out a Christmas Eve service. They're very fulfilling, and it's going to bring back a lot of memories from when you were a kid singing those Christmas carols of old. Until next time, Merry Christmas, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.